Hey, Courtney, welcome to the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Well, one thing that really came across to me in some of our email dialogues, and even some of the question answers you sent over to me yesterday, was your enthusiasm for your organization and Adopt a Class. So I'd love to hear from you just to start off, what inspired you to join the organization? What is Adopt a Class all about, and what's your role?
Yeah, definitely. So Adopt a Class is a nonprofit organization based in Cincinnati, Ohio. We were founded in 2003, and what we do is we partner local businesses and civic groups in our communities with students and do group mentoring.
Mhm.
So we have volunteers that go into the classroom, talk about college and career exploration, and really just are there to inspire these students to, discover their passions in life, to discover possible careers or jobs that they'd be interested in doing, and also just to have a caring adult in the classroom with them as well, to listen to their hopes and dreams. So I do marketing and communications for the Adopt a Class organization. We are a small but mighty team, but again, a lot of our program is supported by our volunteer mentors. So even though there are only 6 of us in the organization itself, we have, 2,700 mentors all throughout, 36 schools in our area. But what I also do as well is it's a mix of the marketing and communication and programming. So I manage all of our Northern Kentucky relationships. So I work with about 40 mentor teams in 5 of our schools. And so my day is pretty, pretty hectic, pretty busy. For example, today I had 5 school visits in 3 different schools before coming on today. And but I do have such a passion and drive for nonprofit work in particular. I have worked for profit and nonprofit as well, and I always find the drive and the inspiration to get back into the nonprofit scene if I step out a bit.
Let me ask you this with for-profit and nonprofit marketing. So in the for-profit world, marketing is just something you do. It's the line item on your budget. And my experience in talking to nonprofit organizations, it can sometimes go in one or two directions of they're very opposed to it. They don't think nonprofits should be involved in marketing, or it's something really embraced. But I want to hear in your own words, kind of what has your been experience of the difference between marketing in the for-profit industry and the nonprofit space?
Definitely. So yeah, there has been a pretty large difference personally for me in terms of how I approach marketing communications in for-profit and nonprofit. So typically in the for-profit world, it's more of that commercial marketing that you see. So there is something that I'm tangibly trying to sell.
Mhm.
And then in nonprofit, I like to focus a little more on social marketing. So really inspiring others to go out there and do good. Social marketing has been something that I've been seeing a lot more of in terms of not just nonprofit work, but also for-profit businesses. Again, we work with a lot of very large organizations. Kroger, P&G are a couple of our really large ones, Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And I'm seeing a lot of like a gravitational pull, if you will, towards this more social marketing with them. So even though these organizations are, selling a tangible item or selling a product, anything like that, they're still being drawn towards the idea of bringing common good, which is, kind of the item that we have in that social marketing scheme. So we have, again, just that idea that you want to be doing something that's beneficial for your community and seeing that good being transferred throughout the community. And it benefits not only those that you're serving. So our students, for example, are definitely the ones that are really benefiting and are really impacted from the program. But we do see a lot of good that's being done among our mentors as well. So a lot of our mentors are coming to us saying like, hey, we feel more connected as a business. We feel more connected as a team. And we're able to, kind of take all of that good that we're doing in our community back into our professional office space as well. So for me, it's just kind of all about a different, spin on the story. So in commercial marketing, you're really trying to like sell that product to someone. And in social marketing or nonprofit work, I'm trying to bring you into the story.
Is there a brand that you really respect with what they're doing with social marketing?
I mean, the healthcare industry as a whole in the last, 3 years at this point has really done amazing work in terms of their social marketing, in my opinion. So if that's, local hospitals that are encouraging you to go get a vaccine so that you can, have those family gatherings during the holiday season, that's been something that I've been truly inspired by and something that I really have been excited to see more of. And then we do also have some of our organizations such as Kroger, where they do have a specific team as well that kind of does more of their social marketing. So, whether that's working with local food pantries so that, we don't have as much hunger in our area or food deserts, if you will. I'm seeing a lot more of that, and it's been inspiring and really exciting for me.
Has volunteerism and giving back always been part of your life?
Yes, it definitely has. So I've had a really interesting career journey, and that's something I love to share with the students when I'm personally in the classroom.
Share with
Because,
us now. Want to hear.
oh, yes. So, I mean, I went to school for opera performance.
Oh, wow.
I went to school to be an opera singer. And I have a very distinct memory. My junior year, I kind of hit a, what am I actually going to do?
Mhm.
I was in a Macy's with my mom and I had a mental breakdown of I can't do this anymore. What am I going to do? So she and my mom has always been such an inspiration for me. She is my cheerleader, but she is also someone I can really confide in. So we just had a heart to heart of, what do I find passion in and what motivates me? And I had always, did a lot of volunteer work throughout high school and college as well. So we really started exploring the nonprofit world. But I first was an educator for a couple of years. I worked in a local school as a grades assistant and also helped out with their math classes because I enjoyed math. And then I really started to explore more of that volunteer work. I went to a local music shop, and my job there was to provide musical instruments to schools in our area so that children could partake in music lessons. And then I went to a local theater, and when I was there, I was doing their marketing and communications, and also their sales. So I was working with local schools to bring either our theater groups into the schools themselves or have the students come to the theater to see a performance. And then the pandemic hit and had some time, because I was unfortunately laid off with all the theater shutting down. So I had some time to really sit and explore myself more and what I was wanting more. Community engagement was always a huge part of that, and outreach. So then I got a position at a local children's publishing agency, and I was working with nonprofits and hospitals and nurses and providing children's books to their organization so that they could do literacy in young ages. And then that's kind of how I found myself at Adopt a Class after that. I saw the need in our community, and I saw how this organization in particular really worked with our community and population to do good. And so volunteer work has always been something that I really love doing. I'm currently a Girl Scout mentor as well. So it's definitely a big part of my personal and professional life.
Do you think volunteerism would make you a better marketer?
Yes, definitely. I think something about being a good marketer, of course, is about understanding your audience and understanding who you're serving or who you're trying to market to. So I think that when you put yourself out there in the community in volunteering, in working for, that greater good in your community, you're going to start understanding your audience and how to communicate them, how to tell, a story to them, or or just even like how to understand them better, which will make you a more successful marketer.
Something that was also in my mind when you were talking, I've heard from numerous people when I've asked what makes a good marketer, a common answer has actually been empathy. And what I was thinking too is volunteerism, giving back would make you just a more empathetic person. And in turn, that would fuel your ability to empathize with your customers, donors, whoever that is, that your organization.
Yeah, 100%. We specifically in the work that we do in the population that we serve, there is a fine line between empathy and sympathy. And we really want to focus more on empathy and just really understanding these students, understanding, possible emotional baggage or anything else that they're bringing into the classroom that's not necessarily allowing them just to be students and just to have the experience of learning and education. So a lot of the time when we do our mentor trainings, because all of our volunteer mentors do have to go through a training before going into the classroom, we do talk about that. We do talk about just how to be an active listener, how to be a good listener, how to talk about hopes and dreams and aspirations for these students. How to be a good human is how I like to put it when I'm doing these training sessions. But a lot of them already are great humans because they're being there and because they're giving their time to volunteer in their communities. So having empathy and knowing how to tap into that empathy as a marketer or as someone in communication is extremely important.
Let me ask you one other question on this topic of empathy and really knowing these individuals. How do you not go to the dark side of marketing and turn that into manipulation then?
Oh, 100%. So I think a lot of the time it's having a key language or story that you're working with consistently. So, there's ways that we talk about our audience or talk about who we serve. So we're always saying that there are today's students to be tomorrow's leaders. And I think having that story and having that visual when you're going in and doing the good work in the community is something that, always in the back of your mind, always something that is kind of driving your interactions and driving how you are, working with the students in the population that we serve. And just understanding that there are going to be differences amongst everybody in the classroom or amongst the volunteers and the mentors and the students themselves, but there's commonalities too. And that's something we always like to explore as well, as like what we have in common and, common interests or common views, things like that. So,
if I can interject real quick to crystallize a point I heard there. So your marketing empowers individuals, it doesn't poke at insecurities.
Exactly. No, that's a perfect way to put it, is that the marketing. So our biggest, cheerleaders and what I think our most successful marketing tactic is word of mouth. So our board, our staff, our volunteer mentors, our schools, they all have kind of the nuggets, if you will, of how to talk about what we do and how to talk about who we serve so that they can go out into their community and market for us about how to be a part of this organization and program to keep doing good. So it's been a very successful tactic for us. We grew 40% in the last year. So we went from, serving in 33 schools to now I think we're about in 37 because we're, finishing up some nitty-gritty stuff and getting that last school. And it's again, just, having that story and being able to tell it consistently and accurately between whoever it is you're talking to. But you're right, that's kind of the way that it's easy to get into the dark side of what we do. It's easy to focus on, oh, well, Cincinnati has been in the top, you know, gosh, 5 in children's poverty in, recent years. And it's easy to really kind of dwell on the doom and gloom, but that's not what we like to focus on. We like to focus on success stories. We like to focus on the dreams and aspirations because we find that is much more of a meaningful way to market and communicate what we do.
What role did marketing play in growing by 40%?
Again, I think that's, from the pandemic and from the fact that many of our schools closed and they were all virtual, there was such a need and draw for human connection and for human decency that was a huge part of what we just played in marketing wise. We're on the tail end of this. We're excited to see the bright future. We're excited to see where these students will take us in our future. And we want you to be a part of it. How can you be a part of it? And so I think a lot of that really played into how we did our marketing, especially throughout 2020, 2021, and now into 2022. I will say I just started with Adopt a Class about 6 months ago. So I saw a lot of what the previous person was doing and just saying, what can we do to continue this streak, to build off of it? And a large part of that too was really reaching out to our media contacts, figuring out how we can get in the mind of more people throughout the greater Cincinnati area so that they'll want to be a part of our story.
In terms of marketing mediums you're utilizing, so word of mouth, like you said, that's one of the best marketing tactics that any brand nonprofit organization can utilize. What are some of the other marketing mediums that Adopt a Class is utilizing?
Definitely. So, a large part of what we do work with constant contact. So we do have a regular outpour of external communications that we're doing. So we have a monthly newsletter that goes to all of our mentors and educators, kind of a look at, what you can do during the month of November per se, or, highlighting some of our very passionate, strong partners that we've seen to really, motivate some other partners as well. And so email communication has been a really big part of our program and it continues to grow. We still do some, direct mail, especially when we're getting into the giving season and the giving time of year, because that is a large part of what we do as well. And so we do have, the direct mail that we will do to maybe our older demographic or population in terms of that, because we see a much better success rate with direct mail with that older audience. But then we also know that social media is really important. So something that I think every nonprofit organization should do is get out there on social media, share those stories. Share those successes, share those wins, but also share that there still is that need in our community to really motivate them and drive them to be a part of your story. So we're on,
quick question on that is, so in terms of your overall just stakeholders of who you need to be engaging with, it could go as young as the TikTok generation all the way to, someone who might be grandma and grandpa. And then in terms of the marketing, you need to be thinking about how you touch just such a vast age range. How do you then break that down in terms of your just marketing resources and how much man and woman power you have to be able to connect with so many people in so many different places? As it's not as simple for you of just, we're trying to connect with 15 to 22-year-olds. We're all about TikTok because that's where all their attention is.
Exactly. And I think that really poses a unique challenge and opportunity for us because we do have, a pretty large age range that we're targeting. So as you said, we're working with students, but also their parents. And then we're working with donors. We're working with the volunteer mentors. So whether they're in a large business or a small civic group. So there's a lot of different ways that we have to to reach
Mhm.
this audience. And I find that as long as we have our story and our narrative and language down pat, a lot of it comes easier to us.
Mhm.
I will say we have not tapped into TikTok. um, TikTok is just something where, again, we do work with the students, but we're not necessarily wanting to engage them in that
Right.
regard. But we do use, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and all of those even have a different audience.
Right.
We find that there's a bigger pull towards, our business partners in LinkedIn. So we'll see a lot of our business partners who go into the classroom, take some photographs, and then just talk about their experience in the classroom. So I find that, of course, as I'm managing all of these accounts, that I need to keep an eye on, who's talking about us and making sure that, the story is there, the language is there too, and then sharing those, throughout our platforms as well. So LinkedIn, again, really, really powerful for us in terms of engaging our partners, in terms of the business and civic partners. But then I find that a lot of our schools use Twitter more. So a lot of the time our schools will, talk about, oh, we had P&G come into the classroom today to visit Miss Smith's class. Look at what they got to do today. They got to talk about their Dawn dish soap and how Dawn, uses science to take oil off of, animals after oil spills and things like that. And how cool is that? So then I have to figure out the language in terms of the schools that are there on Twitter and using that. So it's a lot of different moving parts, but I find that they most of the time move together because that story and narrative is consistent.
One last question on marketing mediums. So I've heard some really cool tactics from some organizations of what they've done that have been the non kind of sexy answer, like saying TikTok right now, that's what it's a hot thing to talk about. For instance, we talked to the digital marketing team at the Tennessee Titans, and they were trying to figure out how do we connect with individuals in Tennessee who live in more rural areas, and they did murals on some barns related to the Titans in their upcoming season. We talked to this maker space, and one of their best marketing campaigns was free t-shirts, which they were going through all these complex, Facebook ad campaigns, and just giving people free t-shirts was their best marketing campaign they've done. So what's a non, internet-based hot tactic that you're up to adopt a class that you're really proud of and is generating some good results for the organization?
Definitely. So we had our mentor symposium earlier this year. It was back in September, and that's just a, kind of training, get to know you, kick off the school year event for us. And we were saying, we kind of wanted to keep it a little, low key. It's not necessarily our big event for the year that's always happening in June, but what can we do to make these mentors feel special? And what can we do to, make them feel inspired to get into the classroom and just get, like I said, excited to be out there. So we decided that on each table, each person who was attending the symposium was going to get a little notebook. And on the notebook has, our logo. It has a calendar for the school year inside of the notebook as well. It came with a pen. It came with, a bunch of paper so that they could take notes during their symposium. And it was great. We saw so many people who were utilizing that during the symposium, putting it in their bag so that they could take it. And then they said to themselves, like, hey, can we get some more so we can take these into our classroom so our students could have them too? And so it was a really great way to see, it was a easy and great way to see that we had an impact on these people and that they could, take this with them into the classroom or take it back to their business and, maybe strike a conversation with someone if they're using it and say like, oh, I see that has Adopt a Class on it. What is that? Oh, well, let me tell you. So, just that. And again, like word of mouth is still a big one for us too. That's not necessarily contingent on the internet.
how do you measure success in marketing? And kind of a background to why I'm asking this is that in your for-profit experience, it sounded like marketing was very transactional. You spent this and this came back to the business, but at Adopt a Class, it sounds like there's just a little bit more to the marketing and what you're doing. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I'd love to hear at Adopt a Class, how do you measure your marketing efforts?
Definitely. So Adopt a Class has been one of Cincinnati's best kept secrets, and we don't want to be. We definitely do not want to be one of Cincinnati's best kept secrets. We want people to know who we are, what we do, who we serve, and how we make a difference. So honestly, brand awareness is a big indicator of our marketing success. So the more people we know about us, we know what we're doing in terms of getting out there on social media, sharing success stories is, successful. I was in a FedEx and I was printing off some door signs for our schools that say, our class is mentored by, and then whatever business or organization was there. And they were trying to charge us tax. And I was like, we're a nonprofit. We don't pay tax. And so they were like, well, what's your nonprofit called? And I said, Adopt a Class. And I hear from the back of the FedEx line, I love Adopt a Class. And it was so cool to just see, the impact that this organization had on this person. And he had been a part of one of our teams, but he had moved and changed jobs. And so he and I started talking in that line, what can we do to get him back into mentorship and getting back into the classroom? And now when I talk to my friends or talk to new people, they know about Adopt a Class. They've heard about us because, oh, my husband is a mentor for one of your classrooms, or oh, my mom is a teacher for one of your classrooms. So we're slowly and steadily becoming less and less of a secret and more about something that people know about and want to be a part of. So that's a huge indicator as well. And of course, I can't be a marketer if I'm not data driven. And, looking at the numbers as well. So just seeing the increased engagement and reach across all of our social platforms, seeing the numbers on our YouTube page and channel, because we do share, some videos and video content on there as well. Seeing that increase too. So I was really proud of a marketing campaign that we had done over the summer when we were celebrating our end of year kind of Adopt a Class winners and stars of the program and organization. So best, teacher of the year, principal of the year, best activity, things like that. And we saw a huge uptick in our engagement and in our reach, especially again on LinkedIn. I think there was like a 4,000% increase, which, was super exciting to see. And it was something that was like motivating in terms of, okay, so this is what resonates with people. So it was making sure that I understood that as the marketing and communications manager, what resonates with people so that we can start to produce more of that kind of content for them.
Where is your brand at with video?
So I'm really, really excited actually, because we had an intern with us, marketing and communications intern, and she was an intern with us for about 18 months. And of course, she graduated from school, moved away and was doing something else, but I had reached out to her, kind of on a whim asking about something, and was just like, hey, would love to hear how you're doing. And she's like, well, I'm thinking about moving back to Cincinnati. I'm thinking about, trying to find another job here. And I was like, oh, okay. And she had handled all of our video content. And so I'm happy to say that we brought her back on the team, and I'm really excited that we're going to do a deeper dive in our video content. So a big push that she's going to do as soon as she starts back up again in November is video content in terms of, a longer video that we can put on YouTube, but also like 15 second snippets that we can then use on our social media platforms or share to our mentors and say like, hey, if you want to share this with a prospective mentor, someone that you think would be an excellent person to bring into the program, share that too, because a lot of photos and stagnant things are just not getting the traction that they used to. So
Right.
we know that video is important. So I'm excited for us to get back into it.
How are you balancing short form and long form content as a organization?
Right. So we definitely understand that there's a need and use for both. But we also want to work smarter, not harder. So a lot of the time, what we'll do is kind of talk to the person who's going to be handling our video, write out the questions that can be, kind of used in the longer context, but that we can easily shorten into those smaller snippets. So again, the working smarter, not harder is something that we, especially as a smaller team, always try to strive for.
Mm. I only have a few last questions today. And one of them is, have there been any marketing campaigns that you're very proud of that haven't discussed just yet that you want to share with us, and anything that you can share related to your insights and learnings with why it was such a successful campaign for you, whether it's at Adopt a Class or in your career?
Sure. I would definitely say that I'm all about celebrating the wins and celebrating the good and, uplifting these kinds of stories and instances. So any sort of campaign where we can really highlight that and focus on that, I find is always going to be more successful for us. And that's not just nonprofit, in my opinion. I think for-profit can really, again, tap into that social marketing too, because it'll really drive their brand and drive their influence in their communities as well. So I'm proud that our founder, his name is Mr. Bill Burwinkle. He was actually named Philanthropist of the Year by AFP Greater Cincinnati. So that was some time of myself and my coworkers going out to people who we knew saw what Mr. Burwinkle was doing and, asking them to write on his behalf. And now what we're going to do as we go into our 20th anniversary in 2023 is really kind of spin that positive momentum and keep going with that. So again, we're going to start utilizing that video content, and we're going to start utilizing those stories and impacts from each of our stakeholders. So students, mentors, businesses, civic groups, donors, everybody that's involved in the community, and keep that, positive influence and keep it spinning as we, go into our 20th season or 20th year and continue to see it grow. So, it's something that, hasn't necessarily happened yet, but we have the foundation and we have the building blocks to make it a very successful campaign and marketing opportunity for us.
So two more questions. So the first is, whether this is personal or professional, is there any tech that you're really interested in and how that's going to be influencing marketing in the future, whether that's Web3, AR, VR, TikTok, what's just piquing maybe it's a new CRM you've been experimenting with, like what from a tech standpoint is interesting to you and how it's going to influence marketing in years to come?
Yeah, so marketing is definitely, as we get older, as the generations who grew up in the digital world get older and start to make their way into the professional world, I'm really excited to see where we continue to go in terms of marketing with that in the digital realm. I think there's always going to be a need for human connection. I think human connection is one of the most important aspects of marketing and something that we can't miss out on. So, the artificial intelligence or AI is something that I'm skeptical on, but I'm, excited to see the possibilities with it. But as long as, we keep that human interaction, the human connection involved and engaged in the marketing realm as we move further into digital, I think it's going to be a really exciting time for marketers out there.
I love it. So kind of what I heard then is that it's not necessarily the tech that excites you, it's how we keep our humanness with one another through tech growing exponentially.
Exactly. And I think, again, because of what we've experienced as a society in the last couple of years, working remotely, not having that connection anymore, it's more important now than ever.
So the last question today is, what is the best purchase you've made either personally or professionally for under $100 in the last 6 months?
Yeah, so I actually made this purchase a week ago, and it's something that I have a hard time spending on myself. It's something, I know I deserve, and I deserve nice things, but sometimes it's hard for me. So instead, I'd always kind of ask myself what will make me feel good. And when I feel good, I do good work, right? So my big thing, I don't know if I can show you guys, but I like to get my nails done.
Awesome.
So I got a little black kitty cat and I'll spend that on myself to make myself feel good. Cause like I said, if I feel good, I'm gonna, do good work in the organization, which then does good work in our community. So, that's what I would like to share, is if there is something that, would make you feel good, do that purchase for yourself.
I love that answer. And you're the first person who has given an answer related to their fingernails.
Yeah. Well, it's great too when I go into the classroom, they're like, oh my gosh, she has cats on her nails.
Awesome. Well, Courtney, the last question I just have is if you have any website, social media handles, what's the best way to learn more about Adopt a Class and get in touch with you?
Definitely. So, luckily, our handles across the board are consistent. It is adopt a class, adopt, and then a class. And so people can connect with us, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We are on YouTube as well. And, I would highly encourage people, even if they're not in the greater Cincinnati area, to explore what we do so that maybe they can start doing it in their own communities as well.
Perfect. Courtney, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.